everyone. I'm just going to give it a couple of seconds for people to get in. Thank you, whether it's afternoon, early evening, or wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to spend the next 40 to 50 minutes, I think, talking through the Incredible Connections framework. It's something that we've been building for, well, unknown to us, but we're actually building it for years, and it's a culmination of learnings across the world from our staffing firm clients, our recruitment agency clients, of which there are over 800 of them, and about 10,000 users. So there's a lot of information in here. I hope that a lot of you find it valuable. One thing I really enjoy when I come to these events myself is there's real actionable takeaways that I don't need to go and reinvent my whole process to implement. I can just take them away, give them a go, see how they're responded to, and then make a choice from there if I want to really kind of investigate it more. So hopefully there's some of those takeaways in here for you today. I'm going to share my screen and take you through in as much detail as I can our Incredible Connections framework. And for those of you that don't know, Odro, my name is Ryan McCabe. I'm the Chief Executive of Odro, and Odro is a video platform built specifically for recruiters, and we exist to help recruiters create incredible connections throughout every stage of the hiring process. So this framework is the amount of opportunities that you have to create that incredible connection. Now, that could be between your brand and a candidate. It could be between your recruiters and your clients, or it could be you enabling an incredible connection between your clients and the candidates that you've introduced. In terms of what we're going to cover today, I'm going to cover a couple of the findings that we've got from the current market. We speak to hundreds of recruitment business leaders, thousands of consultants every month, and we hear about what's going on through their eyes. We're also members of several different groups. We work with almost all of the world's top providers in recruitment technology, so we get a fair temperature check on where the recruitment world is at the moment. So I'll go through a few of the current market observations, and hopefully those resonate with you. I'll then go into an introduction of the Incredible Connections framework. Again, I'll give you 4 simple steps that you can take away today that can make a big impact in your process and how you use video throughout that. We've got a bit of a cheeky free giveaway at the end of this, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Just getting right into it. This is some of the observations that we're hearing right now in the market. Some of them we can help with, some of them we can't, but just to give you a bit of an overview on the problems that are being faced out there. So if you are facing them yourself, you're not alone. Candidate no-shows for internal interviews specifically are becoming more and more apparent. Now, we feel this is, or the general consensus is, that just because there's so many options for candidates, that no-shows just become a bit more apparent because there's more things to go to. They maybe bite off more than they can chew, commit to too many things, or indeed, there's such a state of flux in the working environment right now that they change their mind whether they're going to be part of the Great Resignation, the Great Migration, whatever we want to call it. Not qualifying your roles properly seems to be something that, because the market is so buoyant, that can actually cause recruiters to waste time on roles that aren't necessarily the best use of their time. So just for people that I'm not sure, I can't see who's online right now, so I'm just going to have to explain everything as I go. We believe really deeply in scoring your jobs. So if you win a role and you've won that assignment to work on it, it's categorically the best way to pick which priorities you work on first is by scoring those roles in relation to your success by previous success or future success of filling those roles. For example, let's say you have gold, silver, and bronze level roles. So a gold level role would be a retained role. You have interview slots arranged. It's obviously only you that's working that role. You've probably filled it within the last 3 months, so you have a bit of a candidate pipeline. It is mecca. That's exactly what you want to be working on. Then you'll maybe have silver roles where it's not retained, but as exclusive. You have interview slots and you worked on the role maybe 6 months ago, so you have a little bit of work that's already been done, but there's a little bit more work involved than, say, a gold role. And then finally, a bronze role could be, it's a contingent basis. You're up against 7, 10 other agencies, whatever it is. You're up against all these other agencies. You've not filled the role recently, and it's maybe, you know, a lower fee than you're used to, a 10, 15%. That is a bronze role. And what we find is when you actually, as a recruiter, step back and analyze your process, analyze your pipeline, and score those jobs against the things you care about, you'll find that actually you should be focusing 80% of your time on the top 20% of those roles. Pareto's law, I'm sure we're all aware of that. So that's a very simple way to qualify your roles against things you care about. But it's also, this is something, even the people who know how to qualify the roles, one thing they forget to do is explain to the client their scoring process. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if a client gives you a bronze role, you can explain to the client, thank you very much for the role. We're really happy to work this role. We would class this as a bronze assignment. And that's because we don't have interview slots with you. You know, we're up against 5 other agencies. We could make this a silver role, which would allow us to assign more resource and more time against it by giving us interview slots, getting rid of all the competition. Here is all the things we'll do for you in return. And that gives the client clarity on what to expect. It gives you a negotiating point to get a better role into your pipeline, and just overall gives you clarity on what is realistically going to come in, rather than sitting halfway through the month hoping that you just land the right candidate at the right time. But that seems to be a big thing that people are facing right now, is qualifying those roles. Low response rates from candidates. Candidate engagement right now is by far the largest problem that our clients seem to be facing. And that's something that we focus a lot of our time and research on, is how do we get candidates to respond to you above any other agency? And that's something that I'm going to be covering today. Hopefully that's something you can take away pretty instantly, so I won't spend too much time on that. Another problem that we're finding is that candidates drop out of the process because clients take too long to give the recruiter feedback. It's very difficult for clients to understand the market has changed. We don't have as long as we used to convince candidates or explain to candidates how valuable this role is compared to the other roles that are being offered. So clients moving too slow seems to be a big silent biller killer. The clients not understanding that it is a candidate-led market. And what I mean by that is, I'm speaking from experience here as a hiring manager. As a hiring manager, I now have to understand that the first stage of interviewing a good candidate is selling our business to them and selling the opportunity to them. And that's something that is quite difficult for clients to understand in today's market. They feel like they're paying a fee, you're managing the process. You know, they should feel grateful that they get the opportunity to work with your business. But realistically, that's just not how the world is anymore. So you need to understand, your clients need to understand that you have to then find your value proposition for your business and take that to the candidate first. And that seems to be something that is slowing down some billings and making it less efficient than it has to be as a recruiter in this market. One thing I didn't see coming was a brief changing midway through the process. So the recruiter puts all of the work into the top of the funnel and then discovers when the candidates are presented to the client, even though the recruiter has matched the brief exactly, the client either adds another bit of the criteria to get an interview, or takes something away, or moves the goalposts slightly. And if you're on a contingent payment model, that can completely wipe out weeks of work. So we have something that might be able to support with that, if that's something that resonates with you. And then finally, something else that's causing recruitment agencies a bit of an issue is that they're both themselves and their clients are very slow to improve the process. They're not willing to improve the process. They're maybe choosing to throw money at the problem instead of actually realizing that a 9-stage interview process in today's market is not the right place to go. It's not the right way to do it. I think a big education piece is required as staffing firms to hiring managers and hiring businesses to say, everyone knows that this employment market is completely different to anything we've experienced. And to that end, you should innovate your process to suit. We shouldn't expect that the existing process that's been there for 10 years is going to serve a market that has never existed in those 10 years. So as a recruitment consultant, I would expect that people can consult with their clients and explain to them that there are better ways of doing things out there if you see room to improve in the process. So bit of a 5-minute overview on what we are seeing in the market, which is affecting people's performance, affecting business performance overall, and possibly being a big restrictor to growth. And that's across the US and Europe. I'm going to bring the framework up now, and I just want to give a quick insight into where this came from and how we built it. So our Incredible Connections framework is built into 3 sections. We have the attract stage, we then have the assessment stage, and then we have the aftercare stage. And I believe that those are the 3 fundamental areas of the hiring process that you can improve. There's different areas of those processes, but if you just zoom out and you look at the process as a whole, those are 3. That's how we've created those buckets. And again, just to reiterate, this is not something that we've written, made up, and used as sales collateral. This is our experience with over 800 recruitment brands, over 10,000 users. This is the best use cases across the world for using video specifically throughout the hiring process. So as it stands, this is a standard hiring process. I know that talking about a captive audience, everyone here knows the hiring process, so I will not dwell on this. But as you can see from the left-hand side, it starts from the business development process on how you win the role, all the way through briefing calls, job adverts, candidate searches, and interviews, right the way through to offer and beyond. Now, beyond the offer there, we also have testimonials, we've got referrals, and something called Place the Unplaced, which I'll touch on. But you can see here, this is just a standard interview process, a standard hiring process. Now, when we talk about video, most people point to 2 or 3 areas in that hiring process where they feel you can add video that can make an impact on your revenue, on your efficiency, on the candidate experience, on the client experience. They think there's 2 or 3, and actually there's 16. Now, these 16 are use cases. These are benefits that can be measured, that can be implemented to take your hiring process into the 21st century. I'll go through some of these. We don't have enough time to go through them all. I'm just going to go through a couple of the pressing issues that I mentioned in that first couple of slides, and we can talk about the impact video can have on that process. So this is a bit of an overwhelming slide. I don't want to go too deep into that. If I focus solely on the attract element, this is talking about bringing the role on all the way through to the recruiter interviewing them. So the client is not involved in seeing a candidate at this stage. But just for complete clarity, most recruitment consultants, whether they are in sales or they are 360 recruitment consultants, they will go through a sales process to bring roles on. They will then have a briefing call with the hiring manager to make sure they understand exactly what the hiring manager needs. They will then advertise that job through job boards, LinkedIn jobs, LinkedIn posts, etc. They will then conduct a proactive candidate search on all of the places that they want to look. And then finally, they will meet with that candidate to discuss, whether that's through video or a phone call or whatever, they will meet with that candidate to get more information to present to the client. Now, as you can see, there's 5 ways here that video can have an impact. To give you a very quick overview on the business development process, if you send someone a video message as opposed to a copy and paste written message, there's stats all over the web, not just from Odro, that tell you can it increase your response rates by at least 70%. So that's not something I'm going to go into today, but just for clarity, if you're sending a copy and paste message through LinkedIn Recruiter, you will give yourself a 70% higher chance of converting that candidate or that client if you use a video message. Once you've won that assignment, or you've at least got a meeting to talk about a role with a client, we then move on to the briefing call. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit more in the next slide. But just to give everyone a bit of insight into that, we can, from the same 30 to 45-minute call that you're already having, there's some instant value you can take from that, which will give you better candidate engagement. It will give you a quicker time to hire and a better relationship with the client from the same 45 minutes you're already spending with that client. Again, video job advertisements is obvious. We all know the way the world is with video, TikTok, the bursting on the scene, Instagram video, everything else is proving that our viewing habits have changed and that video is the most consumed medium for media online today. So it's obvious of why that would play a part in the hiring process. Again, using the same methodology for clients, sending personalized videos to candidates, whether that's personalized for the role or personalized for the candidate is up for debate. And then finally, on the recruiter interview, we recommend that recruiters have an introduction video in the bank that they record once a year. And that video is, hi, my name's Ryan, and I'm going to be meeting with you to discuss the role that we've bounced back and forth on in writing. Don't worry about wearing a shirt and tie. Don't worry about the structure of the meeting. I'd like to know X, Y, and Z, but I'm really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. If you need anything between now and then, or the time no longer suits, please let me know and we can rearrange. Now that video in Odro, for example, is one link that is then sent to every candidate 24 hours before they meet with the recruiter, and that will dramatically reduce no-shows. So if no-shows are an issue for you, we found that it's usually because the candidate is nervous, the candidate is overcommitted, the candidate does not have a connection with you or your brand, you're just a faceless recruiter at this point, or they just are not sure what they're getting themselves into. Is it a 2-week process, a 6-month process? You need to give them that clarity. And we found that when you put a template video recorded from the recruiter at that stage in the process, no-shows dramatically reduce. So that's some of the ways in the attract process that video can have an impact on your metrics. I'm going to zoom into one specifically, excuse the pun, which is the briefing call. Now, just for complete clarity, Odro proudly integrates with Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So if your consultants are using Zoom or Teams, we're the only video provider on the planet that can actually integrate those recorded videos into a portal as part of a wider video interview platform. I think it's important that we create as little friction as possible for consultants, for clients, and for candidates. But here's one of the ways that we can actually use the 30 to 45 minute briefing call that you already do, and we can create a lot more value from the exact same amount of time. So what we recommend is if you fire up a Microsoft Teams call with the hiring manager or a Zoom, or you can use Odro's video function, completely up to you. But we go online with the hiring manager and we have the introduction chat, the small talk, the weather, the lockdowns, all that good stuff, and it's not recorded. When we're ready to take the brief from the client, we ask the client politely, can we record this brief so that I can pass this across to resources, I can pass it internally and make sure that they're listening to your version of the brief, not mine. I don't want anything to be lost in translation. And in the same vein, I don't want to get halfway through the process and I've worked to one brief and then we change it halfway through. So can we agree to record this for internal purposes? I can send you a copy. I've not heard that be rejected yet. So I would recommend you record that part of the brief. Once you've got the brief from the client, you stop recording. You say, Mrs. Client, that's great. Thank you so much. One other thing that may help me engage with candidates better and engage with more candidates earlier in the process is if I can interview you right now, I'd like to ask you 3 questions. The questions are, why do you like working for X company? What is it that you're looking for in behaviors and values in this candidate? And thirdly, what do you think is the most important trait from this candidate? If you can ask those 3 questions in an interview environment with the client and use that video to engage with passive candidates, you are in a much better position than anyone else sending a message to a candidate to engage with them with valuable content. So if you've got an opportunity to send to a candidate, hi, Mrs. Candidate, I'd like to speak to you about this role. I have a video of me and the hiring manager discussing what's needed. Could I send you that over? If they reply yes, you're already in a dialogue with that person. rather than asking them if they would like a call or they'd like a chat or they'd like a meeting. That's a big commitment now. Everyone's busy. But if you're just asking them if they'd like to see the video, that's you having a softer yet much more valuable impact at the first introduction to the candidate than anyone else on the market. So it helps you stand out, it helps you access more candidates, it increases your response rate, and it keeps the client happy that they're delivering their message directly to the candidate. So it's a win-win for everyone. Now this is the time you're already spending on the briefing call. The final part of the briefing call is, if possible, ask the client, ask the client which questions they want to see the answers to from the candidate, and then offer the client that you can meet with the candidate online and record the answers to those 2 or 3 questions, so that when you submit the CV or resume, there's a video alongside it asking the initial screening questions. Now, what we find is when a candidate progresses from that stage, 80% of the time they are deemed suitable for hire by the client. So just to go through that again, if you've done all the work up until that point, if a candidate progresses past that stage, 80% of those candidates are then deemed suitable for the role. So with that in mind, you can now project better, you can have a much more accurate pipeline, and you can also provide real value to your clients because they're not spending or wasting anywhere near as much time as they would with your competitors, because you've tightened up what they're spending their time on and you're making them much more efficient in the process. So look, I'm happy to answer any questions as this comes through. So I've got the chat open on the right hand side. If anyone wants to ask questions all the way through, please feel free to add them in. Again, just to clarify in the briefing call, this is 30 to 45 minutes that you're already spending. So you can get so much more value from the exact same amount of time that you're already spending. So after the briefing call, from a video perspective, this is what we call the 30-minute kickstart on every vacancy. If you win a vacancy and you have an assignment to work, we recommend that you spend 30 minutes to kickstart this on every single one. And that's all we need, these 30 minutes. The first step on this is to record a video from the recruiter that's going to be engaging with candidates. The recruiter is recording a 30 to 60 second video talking about the vacancy. My name's Ryan, I work for X Recruitment, and I'm currently recruiting for a full stack JavaScript developer working on these frameworks for this business. This is all the selling points of it. Now that video was then used in the outreach at several different points. We can cover that in another session, but that is one of the big benefits. Secondly, we use Odro Producer to create a video job ad, and you could also use that to add subtitles to the client interview that you took on the briefing call. So again, there's a lot of different ways we can do this. Our clients choose to have a bespoke framework when they implement this. So some clients don't want to do a client interview because it's all lower level contingent roles. They want to protect the business. Other clients get it exclusive. They can charge a little bit more to their clients, so they want to record that. But one of our tools, Odro Producer, adds subtitles, logos, banners, intro, outro, all the good stuff to a video. So that is what we would recommend here at the Kickstart. And then finally, if you remember the pre-interview template that I spoke about, which was a recruiter saying, my name's Ryan, we're going to meet tomorrow for, in 24 hours time. Don't worry, there's no need for a shirt and tie. This is a very casual conversation. We're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, and from there, the process takes X weeks. That, if you record that at the start of every vacancy, we're saying take 30 minutes and stop drop-offs, increase response rates, increase candidate engagement. There's so much that we take from this, from 30 simple minutes at the start of the process. Now, this is a non-Odro step, but we recommend that you create a market map, which most people do when they're working a role. But if you have a market map of other people that hire this type of individual, keep it handy. I'll cover that shortly. So that is, again, hopefully a useful takeaway, which is very simple, 30 minutes, and we can take that away. In terms of recording that video message per vacancy, it's got to be what we term all killer, no filler. I can't remember if someone wants to put in the comments. Someone came up with an album and it was called All Killer No Filler, and I cannot remember who it was, but we use this quite a lot. I'm sure it was a rock album. Anyway, this is all killer, no filler. This is very important when you're recording a video. The mistake people make is they record a video and give as much information as possible, but that doesn't equate to as much value as possible. You will not get a candidate. Some 41. Thank you very much, Jordan. That's exactly who it is. Sorry, back to business. You will turn candidates off if you record a 3.5 minute video and expect them to watch it all. They will not watch it all. You have to keep this video as close to 30 seconds as you can. 30 seconds is enough time to tell them the 2 big selling points of the opportunity. As I've written here, if you have a rare benefit, then use that, but I know it's not always possible. But if you can use the 2 biggest selling points, say them in the 30 seconds, tell them the top end of the salary, give them the timeline for the interviews. I don't know why recruiters in a lot of cases forget how valuable that is, because it's a call to action. It creates urgency. If the message said to the candidate, this is the role, this is why it's so good, and we are interviewing for it next week with a view to offer within 3 weeks, I'd love to speak to you about it. It means that they can't leave it for a week before they respond, and it can incite urgency and an immediate response at that point, which gets me to the call to action. You can tell them that you're going to take the next step, which I like to call it keeping the ball in your court. It's a kind of method we live by in Odro. But if the next action is always on you, then you can keep control of the process. So you can say on the video, I'm going to give you a call over the next couple of days. If there's a time that suits you, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll speak to you in a call. If they don't then answer, you can go back again and tell them the next thing you're going to do. But the fact is, if you have a video per vacancy and you use that to introduce yourself and the client and the vacancy, you're giving yourself the best chance at getting a response from a passive candidate. So again, this is very high level. As part of our service, we go into a lot of detail. We make sure that everyone is getting a bespoke service from us, and we'll be able to craft a video that's a little bit more bespoke for your business. One of the other parts, which I think is the final module that I'm going to go through, is something we call Place the Unplaced. Now, if we just take this back to what a recruitment consultant does for their client, they go to the market, they speak to, please take this as arbitrary numbers. We go to the market and we speak to 25 candidates about this role. We then scrape that down to 10 for an interview with me, and then that goes down further to 4 candidates that we would then submit to the client. So we've done a lot of work at the top of the funnel, and we've ended up with 4 candidates that we think the client should see. So what we can then say is send the 4 candidates over to the client, go through the process. We use something called a talent dashboard, which is a portal for video interviews, salary, notice, recruiter flags, as well as resumes, documents, right to work checks, qualifications. Everything's all in there, and it gives you intelligence on who's viewing what document, what video, and when. Plus, we have a whole chat function to collaborate with the hiring manager through there. So that's something that we do. And giving you the ability to then recycle the 4 candidates. Let's say, for example, we send it to the client. 1 candidate gets the job. We have 3 candidates that are suitable. We deem them to be suitable for that position. And yet, once we've made that fee, those 3 candidates usually are put back in the ATS and we go and look for another role. Yet, with a talent dashboard, we have a duplicate button, which means you can take out the 1 candidate that won the role. You've then left with 3 good candidates that are willing to move to the right opportunity. So what we take is the market map from a few slides ago, the market map we prepared at the start of the vacancy. We map out all of the other businesses that would hire this type of individual, and we can then submit the talent dashboard on a speculative basis to everyone on that market map after we've taken out the candidate that's already been placed. I've actually put a template here for what you could potentially say to a client if you were sending across a speculative talent dashboard. Yesterday, I successfully found this company, this candidate within this week's. And here's 3 other great candidates that the company just didn't have availability for. That is a simple way you can copy and paste that and send that out to 10, 20, 30, 40 prospect clients. And the good news is we give you the intelligence to know whether or not they open it, whether or not they watch videos, whose video they watched, did they comment, did they click request an interview. All of this is on the table. And better than that, if, for example, the client comes back and says, no, thanks, we don't like any of these candidates, you now know that they would take a candidate if the spec was slightly different. So you've then got a conversation there to talk about potentially working a similar role. And that just repeats the cycle again and again. It's an intelligent way to fill your funnel. And it's very, very efficient when it comes to the activity you're putting into the funnel. So that's something we call Placed the Unplaced. It's based on talent dashboards. You can use this in any shortlist. Let me just be frank. If you wouldn't get the intelligence and videos and you wouldn't have that kind of wow factor, but at the end of the day, if you're pulling together a shortlist and you have 3 candidates left, spec those 3 candidates to your market map and start to engage in intelligent conversations. Yes, if it's just a CV, it will not be as engaging and you won't get someone is keen to read a CV and come back to you as you would have someone watching a video and you get the intelligence. But it's a very simple way of recycling your work that you've not yet been paid for. This is the back end of the Incredible Connections framework. This is a different slide to the first one. This tells you what to do. The first slide was the benefits that we can create at each end. But this slide shows you the ways in which we create a benefit. We improve a metric, or we improve the process for your client or experience for your candidate. And that's something that we do put together for a lot of our staffing firm clients. Now, some of the hidden benefits of video, I think people obviously go to the time saving factor. They obviously go to the innovation, staying ahead of competition, building rapport quicker with candidates. They go to all that stuff. But what people don't realize is that video can reduce your no-show rate. It can increase your responses and it can increase your candidate referrals. It can automate marketing material from testimonials that come from clients and candidates that were part of successful projects. We can very simply and easily control document collection from if collecting documents, right to work checks, qualifications, identification. If that's an issue for you, you can automate that through video. You can also add value to clients. This does have a lasting impact on your clients. If you've taken this to them first, you're firstly reducing the risk of someone else beating you to it. But secondly, you're also showing your client that you're not willing to rest on your laurels. You're happy to keep pushing for better value. And in return, you want an exclusive relationship with them, but you have to take the first step and show them that you're willing to consistently strive for excellence in the process. Again, we spoke about place the unplaced, but placing more candidates that you've already interviewed. Someone phrased this to me before. It's like getting 175% of the fee you agreed, because you can obviously give someone a discount because you've already done the work. It's an easy way in. It's profitable for the business. So it's a very simple way of getting started. And it's very easy to make it clear for clients that you will go to great lengths to give them excellence throughout the process. That's just some of the hidden video benefits. There are a lot more, but again, this is just to educate people on what actually does success look like, what part can video play through 2022 and beyond. We put a lot of effort across the world understanding what the future looks like. That is what we're all about. Video is in our DNA. It's something that we were very, very passionate about and will consistently push the envelope on. And look, as part of this, as a bit of a free offer for anyone who's attending this live, we're happy to work with you to create your own bespoke framework. It's something we do for clients that we have already, but as a bit of an offer and a thank you for attending today, we're happy to work with you to create a bespoke framework for you. Now, what that means is it's a document that has both video steps on there but it also has steps that are non-video. So you may want to add market mapping onto your framework. You may want to add CV sifting. You may want to add a qualification check or a psychometric test. This is up to you, but the point is, if we create a bespoke framework that shows just the lengths you go to and the innovation you have in your process, then we're happy to create that something you can give to your clients to say, this is what makes us different. And the earlier in the process you deliver that, the more impact that you'll have on the client and the better chance you have of creating an incredible connection with them, which is where all the best relationships, both in client and candidate, come from. There's a QR code there in the circle that I was given 5 minutes before we went live. So a big thanks to Jenny and our marketing team for pulling that together. If you click on that link, if you take your camera, put that up to the QR code and follow the link, you'll be taken to a page that requests an audit. That's how to get a bespoke framework. So we'd have to sit down with you, talk through what we have, work out what your process looks like, and then map out a suitable process for you going through the framework. So please feel free to take a photo of that, go through the QR code, and then just book an audit. Someone on our team will spend some time with you doing that. So here's my details. I want to thank everyone, first of all, for taking the time. I can see tech consultants on there asking for costs and things. If you fill in that forum, I'm happy for someone to come back to you. Just so we need a little bit more information than that. But we are very competitive. Look, I'd love to speak to people who have been watching this. If there's any questions at all, please send them over to me. I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I'm very passionate about it personally, but we all are passionate about this in the business. If we can give you the opportunity to create incredible connections across your candidates and across your clients, it's only going to be good for everyone. So thank you all very much. As I say, my contact details are there. So if anyone has anything else they would like to ask, please let me know. So again, thank you all very much. And I'll hopefully hear from some of you soon.